Hi, my name is Suniko Bazargarid, and I'm a 2025 Baxter Street Artist in Residence. I've had photography throughout my life since I was 15, 16, and I've moved around a lot of places. I grew up between Mongolia and Boston, and I've lived in Singapore, Bangkok, and now New York. I would generally say because I've had so much motion and movement in my life, I'm attracted to a quieter moment in the cities or even in nature as well. Anything that gives me a moment to stop and take a breath. Where would you find me? If we need to find you is my first solo exhibition in New York City and my first major gallery show anywhere. The work I'm showing in this exhibition is definitely exploring lots of themes of memory, identity, migration, and just the experience of a place. The marks that were left by people in a place, and kind of question where we are, where are we going, and where we have been. So the show's majority of the work was made in Mongolia in the past year when I went there in April, and I had been waiting for a visa response from the United States. I was expecting to stay for 3-4 months at the most, but ended up staying for over a year. And it's kind of crazy to talk about saying that you're stuck in a place that's supposed to be your homeland. And during this time, I was questioning a lot of where I was supposed to go. The title came from when I was entering the United States again at an airport, and a border patrol officer asked me this question: my purpose of stay, how long I'll be here, and where I would be staying. And he said, where would we find you if we need to find you? Which felt intimidating, and this pressure to know and to also just be aware that there's surveillance and there's people watching you in a place that's supposed to be free. So the exhibition is an accumulation of 3 different projects that I've been working on in the past couple of years. One of them being the self-portrait collages. I went through my archives of all the photos I've taken in the past where I was living in different places, the versions of me that had existed in these visual diaries was really interesting to me. And I had also collected these passport photos, ID photos that I had to get taken every time I had to apply for a visa to enter a country. So I have 5 of these collages from different times of my life, and they're juxtaposed with each other from the same time. Who I am, who I see myself as, how I present myself to the world versus how I'm supposed to present myself to the bureaucracy and the system. And behind every stamp, we see a story that we might not know, how complicated and how much world a person can carry inside. Film photography was the first entry to photography for me. I hadn't photographed film in a really long time. I went back to Mongolia with about 50, 60 medium format rolls, and I just photographed as much as I could. And then I had to travel to Beijing and get my film rolls developed and scanned over there. So the effort was intentional. It really, truly slows me down. I have to be careful with every image and framing that I make. I am limited to the quantity. The middle 2 moonrise and sunset images, I wanted them to be looking at each other, kind of just thinking of it as a cycle, as one rises and the other sets, or as one sets, the other rises. I wanted the viewer to be immersed in certain photographs and see the details that you might miss and spend time with it as well. And then we have the 2 landscape collages, and I want them to be also quite immersive and just take space on their own on each individual wall. The big floor piece, this image is just kind of a summary of the whole show. The red line you see is, simply put, a man-made border on a land that has existed before us and will continue to exist whether we place a border through it or not. We decided not to put a line around the image to stop people from stepping on it because we wanted to see how people would interact with the image and the space. Some people are very cautious and spatially aware to not step on it. Some people will happen to be not looking at the floor at all, to not even realize there's an image there. And I like this questioning of who's allowed to step on it and who is asking you to not step on it, who gets to enter a land or leave their mark. My time at Baxter Street residency has been incredibly rewarding, and I felt very supported, and the time to make your own work is always deeply appreciated as a full-time artist. Having conversations with other artists, with Jill, Sydney, and constantly being able to open up and talk about the work is just something that I was missing for a really long time and yearning for it in a way. Baxter Street, of course, has incredible connections and network and community. All of these has helped me become a better artist, I would say, and I already do feel a bit more confident in my work and in my practice. I would say to artists who are beginning their career to be curious all the time, to look and to also take time for themselves. So like go for a walk, like go to that party, like meet some new people and like go to the shows. Just like you have to experience life to keep making work about life, right? Because that's what I think art is and like all that. And just experimenting much as possible. It doesn't really matter if you use it or if it feels useful at all. Or I think it's just a matter of doing and seeing what works for you.